All right, so we are on a new video, and with a new video comes a new build. This is actually one that we've had forever. One of our boys back in the day, Speedy J, this used to have a 2JZ in it, hood dump, and then he sold it to Freddy. Freddy then sold it to Johan. Johan then traded it to Adam. So now we have an E46 shell that Freddy had a cage put in it probably about 3 years ago by Bell Raceworks. They did a great job on it. Nice tigged in cage. Everything is beautiful. It's very tight. The only problem is nobody clear coated or put some primer on it or anything to keep the cage from rusting. So this has 3 years worth of rust. It's not bad. You can get rid of the rust. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do it, and then I'm going to show you the easiest way, which we're going to roll right over here to our new Everlast Redsabre 1250. So this is a laser cleaning machine, laser welding, and also laser cutting. So it does 3 things. You can laser weld with it up to 1/8 of an inch. You can cut steel up to 1/8 of an inch, and aluminum a little bit less than that. And you can also clean everything. Any type of metal, it will clean off all of the oxidation, all of the rust, paint, or anything else that's on it. It being a class 4 laser. So you need to check with your local state laws and make sure that you can actually legally own one and run one. You might also be required to get some more safety training and laser training from the factory when you purchase this, just to have a certification for your state. So make sure to read your state and local laws for these, because they are a powerful laser. And let's just get down to it. It's real easy. You put argon to it, turn it on, set it up. You can set it up for your field to be 3 millimeters or 30 millimeters to clean it. And you just want to make sure you have the proper safety equipment. Make sure that you have leather gloves and then special glasses. So these stop the laser from penetrating the eyes, and it has a special frequency for it, so it will block the actual array of the laser. So normal ones like normal safety glasses won't work, welding masks won't work, grinding masks won't work. Only this specific type of glasses works. So it's higher concentration of light than a welder, but it's lower than radiation. So it's right in between. It's that nice little median one. So you want to wear these goggles. And these things are pretty cool because I see everything in green now. It's like I see in Drift HQ. So let's do this one first real quick, Joel. All right, so first on this, we're just gonna try it with a little wire wheel. This thing spins up to like 11,000 RPMs. And the fun thing about it is all these little wires, they shoot off at you and they will stick into you. I have scars to prove it. So we're just gonna see how hard it is to get this off. And then also you're gonna try and get in the corners with this. It's not gonna work very well. I was gonna use this because this shoots everything at you. So you want a full face mask with this as well. Sweet, sweet helmets sold at Benchmark Abrasives. Also, all of my cutting discs, all of my flapper discs, all of my tungsten for my welders comes from there as well. They sell waxes, polishing pads too. So anything you need to take off stuff besides getting a sweet laser gun, go to Benchmark Abrasives. They're awesome. And they come with cool stickers when you buy stuff. Love the stickers. All right, so this got it off really good. You can still see marks from where you angle the flapper disc or the wire wheel, and you can see it still has a little bit of stuff on it. It took off all of the rust, but you can just see the wear lines on it. So we're gonna see if, not that it makes a difference, because you're gonna repaint the thing anyways, and there's no etching on it, so it's smooth, but I can see the lines in it. So let's see what this laser does. All right, so with this, when you're doing the cleaning, you need to run either argon or 100% nitrogen. If you want to cut with it, you need to run oxygen through it or nitrogen. So you can hook it up to your air pump or air compressor, but you need to have a CFM regulator on it because it needs to be 30 CFMs, no higher. You don't want to blow it out. So you can use air or nitrogen to cut, or just strictly argon or nitrogen to clean. For laser welding, you're going to need argon or nitrogen. So the only difference would be if you want to cut metal, you can, if you don't have nitrogen, you can put in air to it. Just regular oxygen will work. So, and I don't think I have the stuff to cut it. There's one thing else you need to do it, and I don't have it, so we're just going to clean today. And then you have different settings on here. You go to technology, and you can do your common technology, which it'll show you have a max of 100 hertz that you can use, or I'm sorry, 200 hertz. This is set at 50, and then it has a scan width of 3 millimeters, so it's going to be a really small scan width. So if you have really heavy duty rust, oxidation, corrosion, whatever, that small amount will be able to get in there and cut it out or burn it out very fast. You have your Technology 1, which is at 100 hertz, and then your 30 millimeters, so it gives you a better scan, and it'll actually burn more material. And then Technology 2, 50 hertz, 3 millimeters, and 2000. So you can actually import stuff from Everlast if you want to do different settings for it. So you can import it and set everything up, but it already comes pre-configured for 3 different settings. So I'm going to do Technology 1 because it has the highest hertz and the widest bar. Well, I can tell you that was a lot less work. Yeah, that works really good. And you can actually see the etching of the laser, how it goes back and forth on it. Let's see how hot it gets. Not hot, not even a little bit warm. That part right there is not even hot enough to brew some tea. Oh, that's awesome. Let's burn some more. We have a whole cage to do. All right, so while you're doing this, make sure none of your buddies and homies are hanging out while you're doing this, because the reflection bouncing off of something can also hurt their retinas. So tell your buddies to go outside, drink a beer, smoke a cigarette, do whatever. Just stay away from you while you're burning with this thing. Make sure you have a lot of airflow too. We have 2 fans going in here, blowing out a suction vent that's sucking out spent air, and then, you know, 2 AC units as well. So make sure you have good ventilation as well, because it does burn stuff off. So you're going to be inhaling, you know, rust, paint, burnt paint fumes if you end up stripping paint, because it will take the paint off a car as well, or do it outside. That way you're safe. We have plenty of ventilation in here, so it's not that big a deal. Do yourself a favor. That, or get a respirator if you have one. You know, a little chestnut. So it's Friday, end of the day. We even got all the boys over here from the office and the warehouse. We got DJ, Arthur, and Omar. His hair's growing back. He's looking real good. It's a bit scary there for a day or two. Yeah. So we got a lot done on half of that cage. We got Duarte's car all set for Pro-Am. We're just waiting for the fiberglass to come back from the paint shop, Josh and Ray. We got Savio's car all ready for Pro-Am as well. We got that rear sway bar on there. Freddy showed up to work late on Friday, so he's going to be here tomorrow. So when you see the end of the video, it's actually going to be Freddy working on, I'm not sure what he's supposed to do because he wasn't here doing it today. So like, subscribe, comment.
Somebody kick.
Wow. Yeah, got them all to kick.
Yes.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Enjoy your weekend.
Look at this awesome 2JZ. Like, why would you want any other motor in your car? LS who? RB what? 2JZ. All right.
We just did a burnout box test to see if another fix worked on the belt, and it came off almost instantly.
Hey, I'm Freddy from Spec Tuned. I have worked with Drift HQ to develop the alternator bracket. It relocates the alternator from this side to this side with the addition of a idler pulley. We have tested them on both of Adam's Pro cars in the US and in Europe with no failures. And today I'm going to walk you through the process of how to install the bracket, what to do and what not to do, and things to look out for, such as like belt routing, make sure nothing is hitting, everything's clearance properly for your application. So the kit will come with everything you see on the table. It has a bracket for the alternator, hardware for the bracket, 2 lipped outer pulleys, a belt for your application depending on your pulley sizes, and a power steering brace. The power steering brace itself can be purchased separately from the kit, but if you purchase the alternator bracket, this is forced to come with it. That way I know you have a brace on your power steering pump. Once you take your alternator off of this side, exhaust side, put it on the table or wherever, you can go ahead and remove the idler pulley on the factory tensioner, which is either a 14 or 17, depending on if you have the factory nut or not. And then you can put this bare. You do not need to remove the power steering pulley, but I did just to show 2 steps much easier on camera. So once you have your motor looking fairly similar, the first thing I would do is you need to knock out this dowel pin inside the power steering bracket, which you will use hammer and screwdriver. You need to remove this dowel pin out of the power steering pump bracket. You can do it with the pulley on, but I removed the pulley just to make it easier in video. Cool. And this will no longer be used with this bracket. Step 2, you will take your new bracket with the 2 Allen head socket bolts. One goes here, they're the same length. So you'll take the bracket, you will place it in between the pump, line up these bolts. Then you take the 3rd Allen head socket bolt, the shorter one out of the 2, and this one will go here. And you kind of just want to start everything fairly loose at first. 8mm Allen key. And then we will snug these, not tight, but just fairly snug. And then once I get these 3 snug, I will go ahead and loosen this main bolt that's holding the power steering pump up here, which is a 14. Once you loosen this bolt, that will let the pump kind of find itself. So we'll go ahead and we'll tighten these all the way first, as this is the truest surface out of everything here. And after you tighten these 2, we'll go ahead and snug this one up. And we'll kind of do these in 2 stages. We'll snug this one till it's slightly tight, and then we'll make this one tighter, and then we'll tighten them both at the same time to final torque spec. Everything here will be torqued to anywhere from 45 to 50 foot-pounds. You can go ahead and torque these 2 to 50 foot-pounds first. All right, so once you have torqued these 4 bolts, you can go ahead and put your power steering brace on, which goes from A to B, pump to the block. It just prevents from like lateral load on the pump flexing or breaking this here. And that's why we kind of try not to load this up first, because if this is tight and the pump is slightly cocked, because this is a cast piece, it does have final machining, but it is 30 years old. It can be slightly crooked, and then you go to tighten this and you're preloading everything. So you kind of want to start with everything neutral. And then you take the new brace, the Drift HQ logo goes against the block and upwards. Cool. So once you get this on, this can rotate slightly and kind of create or close a gap. Typically, you'll kind of go all the way to one side and it closes the gap. And then you will tighten the pump side first. And as you tighten the pump side first, it will kind of move itself into the block. And then you tighten the block side. And then these can also get torqued to 45 foot-pounds. So with the kit also comes 2 lipped idler pulleys. One will go on the bracket itself, and then its sister will go on the OEM tensioner. That way we have a lipped source on here as well to keep the belt from sliding off. When putting this onto this unit, there may be a couple different steps. If you have the OEM 2JZ Supra manual tensioner that has these 2 ears, you'll have to put the provided washer behind the idler pulley, like so, and then you will put the pulley on, like that. If you have the tensioner that does not have these 2 little notches, it may not use this washer. You may have to put the washer on the front side, depending on and there may be a slight possibility you will have to grind an additional area here. Now that all just depends which tensioner you have. This is one of the most common ones, but it just depends. Once I put the power steering pulley on, I noticed that this idler pulley was a little bit further out from where it should be, and I ended up taking the washer out from behind. Now it's very hit or miss depending on the brand this tensioner is, which model you have. So you kind of just have to like do an eyeball and check if it's in line or not. It's very obvious when this was on there because this lip was past the power steering pulley by 1 notch. So I just took the washer out and put it on. But on one of the other cars, it needed the washer. So it really depends on your setup. That's gonna be a user installer to figure out. There you go. This nut is not the factory nut. We have lost it in this process. This is a aftermarket 17mm nut, but the factory one is a flange 14mm nut. And then this will just kind of get it snug, and then when you go to tighten your belt, it'll kind of tighten itself, like so. The pulley should spin freely. They have a very little amount of side-to-side play, just like the factory one. The second outer pulley goes on the bracket itself, just like this. You will then take some blue Loctite thread locker, put it on the threads of the bolt. Once you put the bolt in here with some Loctite, torque it to 45 foot-pounds as well. Then you'll take your alternator, and it's ready to be bolted on the bracket. Now the bracket does fit MechMan alternators, DC power, pretty much any aftermarket alternator that guaranteed fits a 2JZ in the factory location. So for this, we're using a nice and crusty used JZ alternator, and you have 2 bolts, short, bigger one, tall, skinny. They go in. The alternator will bolt in from the backside onto the bracket, like so. When you tighten these two, you want to also tighten them kind of in sequence. You don't want to fully snug one and the other one is still loose, so kind of walk them both in at the same time. Joel was also asking if this will fit the 1JZ application. It will. Everything layout is exactly the same on a 1J as well. Just the block deck height is 1 inch shorter on the 1J. And then you will want to also torque these to 45 foot-pounds.
I really like 45.
That's a good solid round number. And then be honest, no one is really going to use a torque wrench. For this application, I have a larger power steering pulley on the motor, and that's due to the fact that a motor of this nature will rep to about 8,000, 8,200. And with this crank pulley size and this power steering pulley, the pump speed is like 8,500 RPM, which is still a little bit high, but it is better than the factory pulley. This bracket will work with the factory size pulley, but I just have this because the factory size pulley is gone right now. If you took your power steering pulley off to do the install, put a little bit of Loctite on the threads, and then once the belt is on, give the nut a good tightening. And then you'll go ahead and put your belt on with the accent. Cool, so once you got your belt on, you're ready to go. Like, it's done. You're done, go drive it, go hit rev limiter, do whatever you want. Your belt will stay on forever and ever and ever. So the whole purpose of this kit was to get proper belt wrap on all of your pulleys and prevent the pump from flexing. So if you look, we'll start here at the water pump pulley. There's over 75% belt engagement on the water pump, over 75% belt engagement on the crank pulley, the power steering, and the alternator. So this will prevent any sort of belt slipping on any accessory drive, and having the 2 lipped idlers here and here will give the belt kind of a nice guide to walk on as well. The belt is on the tighter side, that way it will allow for it to stretch when needed, like so. As you drive the car, you'll notice the tensioner will kind of move a little bit as the belt finds its home. If you like what you see, you can find this bracket at drifthq.com. I'm Freddy with SpecTune, and thanks for watching.